The Ariel school phenomenon. What really happened when 68 children witnessed a UFO? If you've never heard of this story, it's one of the more intriguing UFO stories out there. So we'll dive right in. On September 16th, 1994, 62 students at the Ariel school in Ruwa, Zimbabwe, claimed to have witnessed an unknown craft that descended from the sky and landed in a field nearby. The incident, which would become known as the Ariel school phenomenon in UFO circles, started out on a fairly normal day at daybreak. While the teachers remained inside for a faculty meeting, some of the children claimed to have seen a silvery disc land on a hill just out of bounds. The children reportedly ran to the edge of the school grounds to get a better look, with several claiming that they saw figures emerge from what they later described as a craft. The children described the event, which they reported as having lasted up to 15 minutes. Their teachers were quite skeptical, as you can imagine. However, when they talked to their parents that night, they had questions that were then asked of the faculty. With this prompting and the intervention of a local UFO researcher, the head teacher of the school asked the children to draw what they had seen. They came back with pretty similar images of silvery, classic UFO-type crafts. And you can see some of them here. Sometimes they were complete with alien figures standing nearby. According to one student, it looked like it was glinting in the trees. It looked like a disc, like a round disc. One child witness told the BBC a few days after the incident, "I saw something silver on the ground amongst the trees and a person in black," another said. The story only gets more complicated, making it difficult to figure out exactly what went on. You see, the children were then interviewed by local UFO researcher Cynthia Hind the day after the event. What Hind found curious was that the students, who had diverse backgrounds, though all from wealthy families as tuition was expensive, described similar features to the figures and the UFO, despite interpreting the phenomenon in wildly different ways based on their own upbringings. Some thought that the figures were Zivikwambo, which are spirits of humans raised by magic, or even Tokolosh, which are evil goblin creatures of the Shona and the Nadibi folklore. Now, Hind believes these different interpretations, accompanied by similar drawings and descriptions, gave more credibility to the idea that the children had all seen a similar event. She also believed that the kids would not have had access to media about UFOs, which could have tainted their testimony or planted similar images in their imaginations. Telling the TV show Sightings, a lot of these children don't go to movies. They live in the country, and their parents are farmers. The argument being that if they had not encountered these images before and then described something similar, it gives more credibility to their alien encounters being real. Next came a Harvard professor of psychiatry, John Mack, to interview the children. Through testimony collected by Mack, a new narrative emerged. When talking to the professor, who had recently published a book on UFOs and was heavily invested in the topic, the children reported receiving telepathic messages from the aliens, which was spreading an environmental message. Mack had also recently been investigated by Harvard for giving credence to the idea to patients who had reported a close encounter with extraterrestrial life form that this experience might well have been real. Now, you can see here what they're doing. They're discounting this because it's something that is unknown. Now, despite being one of the reasons why the Ariel school incident is so widely known, his interview technique was sloppy. He arrived months after the incident, meaning children could consolidate their stories in their minds, and it's likely he prompted the children, perhaps unconsciously, to recall these telepathic events. Hind, meanwhile, had interviewed the children in groups of 4 to 6, making the similarity of story details somewhat less impressive. Another problem with Hind's idea that the children did not know of typical depictions of aliens in the media was that the country was in the middle of something of a UFO fever at the time. 2 days previously, there it is, the Zenit 2 rocket from the Cosmos 2290 satellite launch had re-entered the atmosphere, causing a fireball in the sky. It wasn't known what the object was by some local residents, but ZBC Radio had been hit with numerous calls claiming to have seen UFOs. Hind herself had learned of the incident after talking to the station herself, after a call was made about the school. Now, according to some, there are more sensible explanations, not requiring you to accept that aliens flew here and made a vague message to some school children about the environment and then flew off again. And they range from mass hysteria to a simple prank on behalf of the school children. Now, one team documenting cases of mass hysteria in Africa at around this time says we should be able to label this and similar incidents as nothing more than mass hysteria. And there's no need to investigate any further. Now, I think that that is just bad science, because each and every one of these 62 children drew similar pictures of similar craft, and some even drawing the class and what appears to be aliens. And what's more fantastic is that a new documentary considers the 1994 Ariel school UFO incident, and it was recently released. And what they found in this documentary is that all of the children and all of the children's parents have not changed their story. And that just doesn't add up to mass hysteria or a prank. And as they become young adults, many of them have been interviewed. And I implore you to watch the documentary Ariel Phenomenon. And come over here and subscribe to their YouTube channel and get up to speed on what's going on and some of the testimony. If this was a prank, these young adults would remember it as such, and at least one of them would have come clean. But yet that has not happened. And we're going to listen to one account from a young man that seems pretty normal in the beginning, but makes your skin rise towards the end.
By account, there were actually 3 beings. 2 of them kind of remained within the line of sight from the playground to the craft. And another one, which is also one of my most vivid memories, was one of the beings actually darting from the craft towards the direction of the swimming pool. The swimming pool, which was probably about 200, 300, 400 meters to the left of the playground. And the most peculiar thing was the way in which it moved, because it almost felt as if it would disappear and appear a few meters ahead of itself. By account, there were actually 3 beings. 2 of them kind of remained with...
That is creepy in all accounts. And you can come listen to more testimonies over at Ariel Phenomenon on YouTube and blow your own mind. What say you? Is it a hoax? Did every single one of these 68 children make a story up? Or was it mass hysteria? Are the pictures they drew? Did they all decide that day that they were all going to create a UFO hoax to save the environment? Was it part of the UFO mass hysteria from the rocket launch? I don't think it was mass hysteria, and I certainly don't think it was a prank. There was not enough time to set it up. Or maybe there was. But even if there was enough time, one of the students would have come clean during the making of this new documentary. Decades later. And that's a boom to knowledge. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share this with like-minded people. Become a Patreon. Support the work we do. We love you. Be safe. And that's a boom.